This tutorial is for lesson 27, and this is going to explain a little bit more about paper space as well as what is known as the DSF, also known as the drawing scale factor. So this is actually the introduction to lesson 27. This is not exactly a lesson, but it's going to show you some important things that you need to understand if this is going to make sense to you. So I'm starting with 26E. I'm just going to go ahead and go to File, Save As, and then save this as 27 arc example, because this is the architectural example for lesson 27. So now mine says 27 architectural example up there, and now I can go ahead and go into, and I'm in model space right now, and delete all of this, and now I'm going to hit save. So you can see in paper space I still have everything all set up just like it was in 26E. I still have my viewport and everything, but now I'm going to draw something and make a few setup changes as well to turn this into kind of an architectural example. So again, this is straight out of the book. I'm starting on page 27-2. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to units, and I'm going to change it from decimal to architectural, and I'm going to go to the nearest 16th of an inch. That should be good as far as that goes. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to limits or drawing boundary, and mine is currently starting at 0, 0, which is what I want. And then according to the book on 27-2, they want it to be 45 feet, so you have to put the apostrophe, comma, 35 feet, and hit enter. And I should be able to hit the grid, and there's my grid right there. It's quite large, but you can barely see it because we have some issues with our grid and snap settings. So I'm going to go ahead and go to grid settings, and according to the book they want us to change our grid settings, it looks like to 12 inches or 1 foot. So I'm just going to type in 12, and you can see right there it says 12, but here it says 1 foot. I'm going to click apply, click OK, and then they want the snap settings every 3 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 3 inches, click apply, and then OK. And now when I double click, you can see I can see the grid a little bit better, and it should be, there should be 3 snaps basically in between, or it's every 3 inches, so there should be 4 snaps between each dot. So that's how the book wants us to set that up. So there we go, we have that set up. Then they want us to just draw a simple little house, nothing special on the house here. It's just got some simple dimensions. It's basically a 30-foot by 20-foot rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and start out on the object layer, and I'm just going to draw it over here. Make sure it's 30 feet, so 30 apostrophe, and then go up 20 feet, and then back over 30 feet, and then snap it down here. Then I'm just going to draw a line from the midpoint, up a certain distance, and bring it over here, and draw a little line for a makeshift roof. And I won't need that anymore. And I'm going to offset my outside lines 18 inches. I'm going to offset that 18 inches, and offset that 18 inches, and then use my extend command to extend that out. And so we have an overhang, so the water when it rains will not run down the walls. So we have an overhang of 18 inches. So it's roughly a 30-foot by 20-foot tall house, 2-story house with a roof on top of that. And the point here is not really to get too much into the actual drawing, but just to understand the scale and how everything works. Okay. Once we have that drawn, we do need to make a couple changes, because you will notice if I were to dimension this, house here, it's not going to look right. So I click on linear dimension, and this should be 30 feet down here. We know that, but you can't see anything. And if I zoom way in, not only does it not say 30, it says 360. And that's because you'll remember our class style is set up for the dimension styles that we use with all of our part style drawings or all of our mechanical style drawings, and now we're doing an architectural drawing. So we're going to need to make some changes to our dimension styles. So I'm going to go ahead and hit D, enter. And if you don't remember D, enter, you can also click on dimension style right up here on the toolbar. And it brings me here. I'm just going to go ahead and make the changes to class style. Again, that's safe to do because I'm in lesson 27. But, or I can make a new one. Actually, it's probably better to make a new one. Let's go ahead and make a new one, and we'll call it arc style. and it's based on class style, so pretty much everything will be the same. I'm going to go ahead and activate it, and I need to make a few changes. So one of the first things I need to do is for linear dimension, I'm going to change it from decimal to architectural, and I'm going to change it to the nearest 16th of an inch, and that should be about all I need to do there. And then I need to go to arrows and change these from closed-filled arrows to architectural tick. And I'm going to go ahead and click apply and click OK. And again, make sure yours is activated by having the yellow arrow next to it. So I click OK. And now, when I do a dimension style, you'll notice a few differences, but we will still have some issues. So when I zoom in, you can see that that does say 30 feet, but it is way, way too small. Okay? And one of the reasons why it's way too small is because, remember, this was set up for smaller drawings, and this is 30 feet across. So there's a couple of things that you can do here, and the book does a really good job of explaining what's called the DSF, or drawing scale factor. We're going to end up scaling this thing when we print it down to 1/4 inch equals a foot. And if you do the math, 1/4 inch equals a foot is the same thing as scaling it down 48 times. Because it's 1/4 inch equals 12 inches, which is the same thing as 1 inch equals 48 inches. So the scale factor is 48 inches. So if we go back to your dimension style settings, and you can go ahead and make those changes on your own, kind of by doing some math. Like if I go into linear dimension, and or if I go into to some of these different things, you can make some of these changes on your own. Like I could change the arrow size, and I could change the text size by multiplying 1/8 of an inch times 48 and putting in the number. That would work fine. That's a little bit complex, and you have to do quite a bit of math. So the simplest way to do it is to go to the Fit tab and go to Dimension Scale, and the scale factor is currently on 1. Well, if you know that you're going to be scaling something and you're drawing something very large, and you can figure out mathematically what your drawing scale factor is, and again, look in the book to look that up, for 1/4 inch equals a foot, your drawing scale factor is going to be 48. So I'm going to go ahead and click Apply and click OK. And now when I do a dimension, I should be able to see it just fine. And you can see I can see my tick marks are good size, my text is good size, and my even my gaps between my extension line and my object lines are good size. So just making that one change is probably the easiest way to go. So again, do yourself a favor, read about all the drawing scale factor information that is in the book, and there's a couple pages on it, and you may have to read it a couple times because it can be a little confusing. But once you understand drawing scale factor, again, when you go here to your dimension style, and you go to the Fit tab, and you can go to Dimension Scale, as long as you know what your DSF or your drawing scale factor is and you input it there, that will make your life a whole lot easier. So that's basically what I want to go over in this beginning tutorial. The next one will go over scaling this and putting it into the Viewport in Paperspace. So I'll see you in the next tutorial.